Okay, good morning and welcome back
Yeah,
to. Actually, can you guys hear me all right?
Mhm.
I
Okay,
bet you.
good. I don't know. I got this microphone stuff and it's just like, I got it. Might as well use it.
Look at that
But what?
fancy mic you got, Scott. Look at that. That thing looks like professional, man. Like
Well, it's
you're.
like you say with the camera stuff. They're not professional. They're $100 or so on Amazon, but it gives this extra. It's like, hey, if we're gonna do this eventually, and so I got to the point, my eventually point years ago where I bought all the crap, and I got lights. So eventually, no rush, but we'll set that up for you, Mike. But welcome back to Take a Knee, everyone. I'm Scott Tucker here with Mike Wallace from Blue Water Advisors. And as you can see, we got a kind of new logo, maybe a tagline. We'll work on stuff as we're building it out. But this has become a show, a consistent thing. Mike and I have found, obviously, we like doing. It's a chance for us to catch up on a mostly weekly basis. But the idea here, and it's from something Mike said in a conversation we had, because we're always what do Mike and I talk about when we're talking together? We're talking about the military retiree. It's just, hey, I ran into a
Absolutely.
guy who has this problem or this situation, and so we've just had, I've been doing this, in this space for 15 years, more or less, and Mike is been going at it now, let
Hey,
alone his own
we're into
experience.
year 4 now, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
it's
in
hard to
four,
believe, right?
and you're having way more kind of day-to-day conversations. So I was just thinking, we must have hit in aggregate over 1,000 conversations of people kind of saying,
Oh yeah.
hey, I don't, it's that time. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I don't really want to work, aggressively for somebody else for a whole nother career. Like, what are my options here? And so that's what Taking Ease all about. Talking about post-military life, career progression. Just like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, hey, now's the time. Take a knee. Let's sit down. Talk about how do you give yourself permission to go seek those opportunities, make some mistakes along the way. So Mike brings the career progression, insight, and network to our audience. And one of those lucky members, actually through a member. So, Mike, I'll let you do the introduction here, but
Sure.
we have a guest today,
We do.
and former guest checking in, Tom Welsh.
Oh,
So might
Tom.
as
Good
well.
morning.
Do you
Yeah,
know?
keep us up on who's checking in there, Scott. Yeah, good morning,
Right on.
Tom.
But
In fact, I don't think Tom would be too upset. We've had a number of conversations. Tom's been a member, and I kind of chuckled when he sent me a text yesterday, and he said, "Hey, man, you warned me about taxes," and he kind of chuckled, meaning, Tom has landed. He's into his progression, and he's now seeing the real tax burden of what life after looks like, right? So, Tom, welcome aboard, my friend. Paying more taxes. Just keep telling yourself it can be a good thing, right? So,
make more money.
but anyway, welcome to our guest, Sarah. Listen, Sara Cummings is joining us. And again, I apologize if I get this wrong. Owner, founder of, right, all sorts, organizing, I guess, kind of all of those things. And Sara just brings a very unique skill set, right, that we're having some conversations on. I don't want to get too far out in front of this. I don't want to speak for you, Sara, but we're really excited to have these conversations about and in and around the executive coaching space, right? Often we find members step into, and just like the relationship we built with Scott and Jen Tucker, right, surrounding things like survivor benefit plan or thrift savings plan, right? Like I can speak to a lot of that, and a lot of our career progression consultants, Steve Weeman, Todd Flannery, and the guys. I mean, we can speak to that because we've lived it and we've gone through this. But I wouldn't say that that is mainstream to our expertise, right? I'm not founded in the financial industry, right? And I don't have a lot of that insight other than what we personally navigated ourselves. And in that same vein, right, that relationship, now on the executive coaching side, again, I like to say superficially, right, we understand what our members have gone through because we've navigated that space ourselves. We understand how families go through a lot of anxiety and stress, right? It is a very stressful time, not because in the way we articulate it, because it is some Herculean, unaccomplishable task, right? Our members certainly find success out there. But I think that stress and anxiety comes for a lot of reasons, right? I've been part of a team. Now I'm stepping into transition. Often I feel alone. Hey, I was a part of a team and I was doing a lot of, a senior leadership. I get to say when the meetings start. I get to say when the meetings stop. I understand the topics of conversation and I'm kind of in control a lot of that, right? And now I'm stepping into this new environment where maybe I don't have all the answers, right? And just empowering our members just to say, hey, recognize this is why the stress is going to come and the anxiety is going to come. You can navigate this, right? You're going to be just fine. Everybody in front of you has done this, but I still am a firm believer that everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a mentor. I mean, look at all professional athletes out there. For gosh sakes, they all have coaches, right? I mean, Tiger Woods, great golfer. He has a coach, right? I mean, all of these athletes out there have coaches, right? And Sarah, you bring a lot of those accolades and achievements to the table. So welcome. Listen, thank you for making time to join us, right? We're happy to have you aboard.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Scott, for having me. This is so much fun. I'm really loving the conversations we're having. And it's true, I have some understanding as well of this space. And I have a spouse who
is as well too, right?
Yeah. We have navigated it and are still navigating it. I mean, it's an ongoing process. And you made an interesting comment there about coach and mentor, and I do think there is definitely opportunity for both and a need for both. But a mentor I see as someone who really actually has gone through or knows exactly what you're going through and has experience and knowledge and the skill set. And what I love about coaching is that I don't have to have been a military retiree. It is my job to hold the space for you as a military retiree to figure yourself out. You are the expert about yourself, and that's what I've come to really love about coaching, is that it's really just getting curious and exploring and facilitating learning about another person.
Hey, I don't think I've asked you this question, and maybe you and Scott talked about it on our fancy tiki boat cruise the other day, which was a lot of fun, by the way. We had a great turnout. It was a good crowd, and it was just a great couple hours out on the water. So for the audience out there and members, we like to do fun stuff, right, Scott? We've done a hockey game, an Admirals hockey game, which absolutely enjoyed taking the group there. Watching a game eye level on the ice. I'll never be able to go to a hockey game ever again that, sitting up in the stands and the bleachers, right? Not being able to be down on the ice. I think it ruined me forever in that experience. And then the tiki boat, Scott's flashing up, little social media posts we had out there. We had a great group and it was a good time. But Sarah, where I was going with this, I don't think I've discussed with you, like, how is it that you got started in all sorts organizing? What was that desire that you had to kind of start this business? How long have you been doing this? And just tell us a little bit how you got into it.
Yeah, it's sort of a strange thing.
I hate, by the way, just truth in advertising, I hate when people ask me about that blue water, right? Because it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I can answer this in a short period of time, right? So
where to start? Well, yours makes a little more sense. So I have a background in human services. I did initially start out, brief history, in advertising right out of college. And I thought, it sounded like it'd be a lot of fun to write jingles. Of course, that was nothing related to what I did in advertising. But what I learned really quickly was that it was about really, of course, promoting, but championing, especially if you're on the agency side, a cause or a product that you may or may not care about at all. And what now I've come full circle to with coaching is that I get to do that, not necessarily promoting, but championing individuals, people. So that was something that just occurred to me in the whole progression. But the organizing part came about 8 years ago. I established All Sorts Organizing when we lived in San Diego after helping my parents downsize out of a home they'd lived in for 50 years.
I do remember a part of this conversation. You're taking me back now.
Yeah. So it took us a year to get them out of a 4,000 square foot house.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
My father was a documentary filmmaker, so he had a basement full of photography, film, all kinds of production equipment. It was a lot, but
how
it
did
was a
you
great.
get through it all? Like, making the decision. What do you keep? What do you not keep? Right? What do you
That
put in
was
one
right.
version? What stays for it? Like, oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
guess
So
that's
those
all sports organizing, right? That's what you do, right? So, yeah.
exactly. And those conversations are very often like coaching conversations, really understanding what's important to you. And so when COVID hit, of course, we moved back to Virginia Beach. And I kept my business here. And when COVID hit, I couldn't go into people's homes and help them in person.
Right.
Um, so I enrolled in a coaching course and just went full bore and found that it was something that I'd already been doing largely. I come from a background in marriage and family therapy. I got my master's over 30 years ago now,
Totally.
and did some work as a therapist for a long time. But that that for a lot of reasons ended up not being where I settled in my passion for helping
Right.
people. And part of that was the military. Part of that was we were moving around quite a bit.
Yeah.
JJ's career
Yeah.
took a trajectory that was just all encompassing. We had 3 kids, and so I took a little break and was a full time mom. Took a little break from working outside the home, and was a full time mom for several years. But anyway, the coaching just developed into something that I was able to do while organizing and separate from. So now the executive coaching offering is something that is really near and dear to my heart because JJ is just retired. We have a lot of peers and friends who are navigating this transition time. And as a mid 50s aged woman, it's a transition time for everyone, truly. I mean, whether you're becoming an empty nester or whatever it may be, it seems to be there's a lot to reconsider and consider now.
No, I love the way you talk about it, right? Because I think back, right, on my own transition, right? I mean, it affects me, it affects Michelle, it affects the family. Like everybody goes through this together. Even your inner circle, right, of close friends see changes in you. They're trying to say, "Hey, I can sense you're going through something," right? It is a very unique thing, right? All the our prior successes, how we defined ourselves, who we thought we were, all these kind of things really kind of quickly come to a defining moment, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, is this who I am, or am I discovering who I really am, or who I thought I was? All these kind of things, you go through it. So listen, I just love your insight, Sara, your enthusiasm. And it just really is exciting to have you aboard. So thanks again for making the time. Scott, you made a comment before the show started. What are some of your experiences in the coaching realm, right? I mean, you've jumped into that, right, periodically, and you had a couple of thoughts on it.
Well, yeah, and actually, this is what I kind of wanted to ask Sara about, because actually, hold on, let me turn my heater off. It's loud. Because I didn't even know about the concept of coaching. Whether
Right.
it's life coaching, financial coaching, let alone executive coaching. I heard about that even later, until I got into entrepreneurship, or once I even discovered what that was. And it was actually through the Rosie Network. You ever heard of the Rosie Network by chance?
Yeah.
Founded by Stephanie Brown, and her story was, hey, admiral's spouse, and yet I have a hard time finding a job. What's it like for all these other military spouses? So, finding versions of self-employment. So applaud you for taking that route and trying that as the military spouse, because I like to think of military transition or retirement as a form of entrepreneurship. That's your opportunity to
It's a
say, "Hey,
great way to look
I'm now a business of one. If my current business model is to go get a job, that's fine. But have the mindset of full responsibility, take control. Now, on the finance side of things, that means, hey, this is all about income one way or the other. So if we want to feel okay about that, have that, at least I got that. I got my pension. I got this next job lined up. That's, anyways, to answer your question, Mike, that's where I got into coaching. I remember kind of after I'd gotten out of the military, because of a relationship, that relationship didn't stay together. So now I was kind of in a career I didn't understand, in a location I didn't want to be in, and didn't know what I wanted to do. But I just remember telling myself, Scott, you have the permission to figure it out. And that was at age 32. And I kind of went hog wild. I was like, I'll try anything. And I started going to conferences, and that's, but it was not military related. I was going to, whether it was online marketing or entrepreneurship, just small business stuff, and just started to see how the civilian, basically people that had just never been in the military, how they were approaching, because everybody's got issues or questions about life or things they're trying to do that's putting them way outside of their wheel. Anybody getting into entrepreneurship, that's why I like to think of as military retirement transition as entrepreneurship. You're just stepping into something new. Well, that's what anybody who starts a business kind of feels like at the beginning.
Scott, I just want to riff off of something you said real quick before I forget. You said, everybody's got, these issues, these challenges, right? And often I can't tell you, our members, which our membership now for our listeners, right? I mean, we're getting close to start touching that 400 milestone mark. I mean, think about it, right? The pedigree of individuals we put through, 400 of these individuals, right, that are now landed throughout the space in some success, part of the network. I'm excited about that. But many times our members come to us and they think they're the only ones that are dealing with these challenges, right, in this career progression. They're going, hey, I know I'm probably a unique case, but this has kind of rattled my gyro a little bit here. And I'm like, no, listen, I want to tell you, like, I've had this same conversation probably 175 different times, right? And it's amazing to me that these learning points come, right, for our members. And I go back to when I used to be an instructor in the F-14, right? And as a backseater, people that know me, you instruct and you fly with new young pilots, right? Who have I can't even remember. Maybe at that time, maybe they've got 100 flight hours or something, and now they're stepping into the Tomcat, right? And so somebody has to ride around with them and help teach them how to, employ this platform. And pilots usually do in the back seat maybe that first or second ride, but then after that, we get thrown into the mix, and you're out with this young kid. The mistakes they're going to make before they know it, right? You really do, right? At that point, you're so in touch with the process and everything. And you brief them, hey, don't forget to do this at this period of time. And hey, don't forget to do this at this point in time. Whatever this task happens to be, put the gear down, put the wings out, put the flaps up, whatever it happens to be. And so you get to that point in time. And of course, you're sitting there watching this and you go, yep, I knew it. He didn't do it. And we're getting slower and slower. And the wings are still back and he didn't put them forward. And you just have to remember, even though I've seen that mistake 1,000 times, but it's their first time.
Yeah.
You with me? I mean, that's where the learning happens. And as a coach or a mentor, I think, at least in my interactions with our members, I have to realize that there's adaptation, there's learning that's going on, even though, right, I think I'm going to solve this. And I go, hey, look, everybody feels this way, but they still have to go through this to a certain degree, but you got to kind of be there, right? In place to kind of help navigate that space, but you got to recognize that's their first time for seeing it, right? Yeah. And so I just love it when you said that, Scott. You go, hey, it's everybody goes through these kind of things. Everybody does, but often we think nobody else is feeling the way I do. And in this career progression space, man, I remember everybody feels this, right? And I think that's really the power of what we're trying to build here at Blue Water, right? you don't have to transition alone, right? You were part of a team, you led teams, you did all these kind of things. When you step into your career progression, you're not doing it by yourself. Guess what? You're still part of this team. Here's the family. We're in place, right? We're going to get through this together, right? So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress a little bit, but Scott, I love that point.
No, so just to caveat on that, Sarah, with that kind of hey, stepping into a new box, whether you call it entrepreneurship or business of one, if you don't know what you don't know, the thing I did myself, give myself permission. How does someone that might not be thinking about coaching or not even know about it yet start to recognize the value on where this might be useful for them in their
Yeah.
challenges? Yeah.
Good question. Well, and I know, Mike, you talk a lot about doing the research on the job market, really understanding all the data you can provide with Blue Water. And Scott, similarly, I mean, you're providing a lot of great information that can save so much time, not to mention money for people. Coaching is doing the research on yourself. So that's really what it comes down to. It's really sort of expediting this process, that learning curve, those aha moments, so they come a little quicker. So it isn't maybe a 8-month career progression. It can hopefully ramp that up a little bit, because you're getting clearer on what is really how you want to create your best life. That's ultimately the goal here. You have this opportunity, this amazing opportunity, coming out of one amazing career, starting life 2.0, starting a whole new mission, whatever. And you can make it whatever you want it to be. Many people, I think, have an idea of what it needs to be or what it should be. And of course, there are these, especially around here, there's some jobs that may or may not be available, but are just sort of hovering, and people hear about them, and I'm going to go with this place or that place. But you can think outside the box, but possibly, and coaching can help provide an arena to do that.
I love that discussion, right? You can think out of the box, right? And we tell our members, and statistically and analytically, we have some data that will help them. Often our members approach us and the path of least resistance. Oh, I'm going to go into defense industry, or I'm going to go to government contracting, or hey, I was a pilot for so many years, so I'm going to go to the airlines because that's just easy, and I don't have to get out of my comfort zone. And please, for everybody listening, don't misread me. Those are all honorable pursuits, and I would never ever try to insinuate otherwise, right? They're very honorable pursuits, but it kind of hurts me a little bit when I see in conversation where they go, man, I've always wondered if I could be successful at, and then you fill in the blank, right? They go, but I don't know anything about business development or marketing, right? Or I don't know anything about these kind of things. And I don't know anybody in that company or in that industry. And for a little bit, I try to be a little bit of a cheerleader. I go, listen, I tell our members this all the time. You're worth $1 gajillion a year, and there's nothing that you can't do, because I know who you are, and I understand your pedigree, and I know that you have that drive and you can accomplish this. The difference is we just need to build a networking bridge, and we need to meet people and get you tracking down this way. And maybe there's some upskilling, maybe there's not, but maybe there's a lower position that you come into the company and learn and then progress up. But this is possible. And I just love that you can give yourself permission to get out of the box, right? And you can do that analytically, right? At Blue Water, right? We're about 29% of our members land in defense industry. We're about 31% land in government contracting. Okay, that's math in public. Never do it. I'm breaking my own rule. What do I have left? I think that's like 40%. 40% of our members of our throughput end up in what we call the other bucket. That's everything outside of defense or government contracting. That's corporate America. That's venture capital. That's private equity. That's like whatever it is you want to. And those individuals, entrepreneurship, right? Starting their own business, right? They've stepped into, or out of their comfort zone. But I guarantee you, if we had them all here today, right now, they would all tell you, yeah, it was a little unnerving. yeah, it was a little uncomfortable, but man, I learned so much and I love it and I wouldn't change a thing. I guarantee you it would sound something like that, right? They've all just been excited about it. So yeah, give yourself permission. You can't get out of the box. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm talking too much, Scott. What
No.
else?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, what you're mentioning there, I think in the coaching parlance of terms, is limiting beliefs. And I think for me, a lot of limiting beliefs were just simply unawareness of what's possible, or that was one part of it. And then from a military standpoint, is just these assumptions of, no, I had the uniform, I was an officer, therefore I'm supposed to be in this kind of a role. And when I think about executive coaching and even people that have already had success in the corporate world, like, I just wondered if you could share any thoughts you have on various limiting beliefs that people have at these kind of levels.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. Sarah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I was
Oh
going to
my
say,
gosh.
yeah, I could go through limiting beliefs that a lot of our members have, right? So
Right,
We'll come back to
right, for sure. Oh yeah, limiting beliefs are endless. And I mean, another word for that is assumptions, just assumptions about what a person's skill set even is. And I know a lot of what you do at Blue Water is helping people translate that into the real world, quote unquote, what all those skills mean, or can do for them. Um, but, part of it is also having, anyone comes to any, event or relationship with certain assumptions about themselves and understandings. And you've kind of gone down that track of knowledge. And trying to think beyond that is incredibly hard to do outside of just yourself. I know a lot of senior military leaders have done the MBTI, for example. They've done emotional quotient testing. There's all these different testings that can tell you what your strengths are, tell you, where you might be best in a leadership role or in relationships or in a work setting. But you know, when people may just start to believe that and think that that's all there is. So that's where you are limited when you can't perceive beyond that. And an opportunity to have a conversation that isn't a test, that isn't somebody prescribing labels onto you, which is another thing in the military. It's those fit reps are kind of pre-written. There's not a lot of room for thinking outside the labels of what you hear over and over throughout your career. And so just to have a conversation that doesn't have anything to do with that, and really to explore where else, and not only that, what you want to be, because that's another thing. Just because you're really good at something or you have had certain strengths in a career doesn't mean you're limited to those things, and or that you necessarily want to use those or expound upon them in the next phase of life. Maybe you want to go in a different direction and you just haven't even considered what that could look like.
No, I agree with all of that, Sarah. And I love how you put it, right. And again, just to riff on that, our members will come to us, 20, 25, 30-year career, and they almost come with this preconception that was the success I had in my life. So everything else from here forward is going to be downhill. It's, this was my one big thing in life. And I'm like, doesn't have to be that way. Don't put yourself in that box, right? Going forward, and we were passionate about language with Blue Water. There's a reason that we try not to refer to it as transition. I don't want to turn you into anything else. This is career progression. I want to take all the goodness that you were, and I'm going to progress you, right? The word kind of has a connotation into something, above and beyond where you are. It's not a downhill. This is going to continue to get better, right? And I firmly believe that. Now, there is a little bit of a challenge, right? We all felt this unity of team. We all felt this unity of, there's very few places that you can walk into a room and in 60 seconds, everybody in that room is completely aligned with your mission, vision, and priorities and strategy. But that's the military, right? And that's what we breed in our teams, right? We have to have that. And we massage that and foster that very, very well. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in your career progression. I'm saying that you're going to find fit and fulfillment in other things that you probably didn't even realize were out there, right? It's not that you're not going to ever have success again. It might just be different, right? And I think that's a fair way to look at it. I think, but you're the professional in that space, sir. I'm not even going to claim to kind of like know that, but I just think for my own experiences, right? Just how to navigate that. And I found very meaningful things out that were different from a ready room environment, from a squadron, right? From life in the military. Different. Yeah. Was it the same as this? No. Was it any less fulfilling? No, it was unique and fulfilling in its own regard. And people find those in different places. Maybe it's with your employment. Maybe you're going to volunteer someplace. Maybe you're going to become a speaker and go on a speaking circuit and tour. You're going to find that fulfillment. You know who I'm talking about. And, but where do you get your juice, right? Where do you get your battery charged? And people find it in different places, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about growth. I mean,
I think so.
Truly. And it doesn't have to stop at quote unquote retirement.
Exactly. I love it.
No, I've been looking at your LinkedIn profile. Tell us about what's positive intelligence.
Thanks
tell us
for
about
asking.
your programs.
Yeah. Positive intelligence is a 6-week boot camp in mental fitness, which is, it sounds very, I don't know, spiely, but I offer this 6-week boot camp because I went through it myself as a coach and with some other coach colleagues, and found that it actually was a way to implement all these elements that we kind of know we should be bringing into our life to really be in command of our behaviors, our emotions. But having that knowledge that this is a good way to live, to actually be in control of yourself, is one thing. That's like 20% of it. 80% of it is actually bringing it into your life and implementing it and developing the habits to make it happen, right? It's like going to the gym, completely like physical fitness. To be mentally fit and be your best person, to be your best in relationships, to be performing your highest at work or in life, you need to train and do the exercises. And you can't just get to a certain place like with physical fitness and say, okay, I'm done. I'm good now. I don't need to work on my mental fitness anymore. You need to make it part of your life. And so Positive Intelligence provides an app, provides a coach. I facilitate the program. And you operate in a cohort for 6 weeks, an accountability group called a pod, and you meet weekly through Zoom to basically hold each other accountable and reflect on what you're learning and how you're practicing. And it's otherwise all done on your own time, really just 15 minutes a day of regular exercises that allow for some reflection, for some centering, and just really being aware of where you are in your head. We get kind of wrapped up in moving from one thing to the next, or, feeling like we've got to be productive, whatever it is. And to give yourself just a couple minutes throughout the day here and there to say, okay, I can collect myself. I can actually be in control of myself and the situation and how I feel about it. It's something you have to practice.
I love that. And JJ's comment just popped in. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he says, hey, big double thumbs up, right? He's learned a ton on how to quiet his mind is what he's saying there. And positive intelligence is amazing. And, we were talking about it on our Tiki Boat cruise. And my promise to you, Sarah, is I am going to find some time. I am going to go through the boot camp. I promise you, that is my commitment to this relationship that we're building. It is just a matter of I may need some coaching to find some white space to kind of fit it all in, but I'm going to do this, right? It sounds like it's very palatable on the schedule, but yet, very impactful as well too. So,
Nope.
Well, and the important thing to remember is it's about bringing it into your life, no matter how crazy it is. I mean, the crazier, the better, because that'll help you figure out, wow, I really can make this work. I do have 15 minutes a day over the course of the entire day total to train on for my benefit and for the long haul.
Yeah. No, I love it.
No, where I found mindset coaching, at times I thought I was getting a business coach or a life coach. Again, it's always comes back to some version of I just don't know something yet, or I don't have enough practice, and I'm just not going to do it myself. You show up to practice. I go to CrossFit gym because there's going to be a coach there, and it's organized. There's something to fall back on. And then guess what? Over time, I'm learning these skill sets, and I'm understanding how to apply them in daily life. And I think for the mindset thing, if you're completely unaware of where this can be beneficial for you, but recognize like, hey, you couldn't hurt, of course, and definitely could gain a lot from it, whether it's a boot camp or a specific system or whatever. It's just getting into the idea of recognizing that, hey, these tools are out there and you're going to have time during the day, whether you like it or not. There's always a moment where you're sitting around doing probably nothing, that instead of looking at your phone, you could learn, you'll maybe learn some breath work exercises or just kind of how to meditate or something like that. And it's all just repetitions and practice and awareness of, what's available and out there. And of course, if you don't know or have the time to Google it and figure it out on your own, start with a practice and a coach. I mean, you go to yoga class, to have someone run you through the routine. We can. So, anyways, that's the benefit that I found in getting started. Now I've kind of just got my own versions of stuff that I do when relevant. Like I don't do daily breath work. I just kind of like periodically be like, oh yeah, why don't I just do that right now? And so I got a bunch of tools in my toolkit, and that's what works. That's what happened to work for me over the years. I kind of figured that out, but it was all because I started somewhere and versus not trying anything.
Sarah, Scott, I love that too. You've made it your own practice
over years and years, right? But it starts somewhere,
right?
Sarah, I just had a very anxiety, moment here that I'm going to step into your boot camp, and a week and a half into this, you're going to go, Mike, you are really messed up. There's just no hope for you, and I'm going to get a failing grade through your boot camp or something. I mean,
no pass fail, no grade.
Please just tell me, right? I mean,
no, then I think that's a problem too, for seeking outside the traditional military transition, assistance. Even people feel uncomfortable even doing that. So, the whole no judgment thing, I think is important. But the first thing, not worrying about somebody else judging you, is stop worrying about judging yourself. Like we've been just so aligned with what is my rank? What am I supposed to be doing within this role? What's good and bad? What's going to get me a good thing? Like none of that matters anymore. You are the only judge of your own, character type of thing, right?
Scott, that's perfect. And that is actually one of the main foundations of positive intelligence, is recognizing your judge, how you judge yourself, how you judge others, and how you judge circumstances. And that is the first character to do battle with, because we all experience that. We all, and to different degrees, but I do find in high performing people that judge of self is really strong. And and I think JJ would be the first to say that. Having him go through it was really informative for me in how that can help this population, these people coming out of the military, midlife, after really illustrious careers, no doubt, and Yet, how hard have they been on themselves? How hard have you all been on yourself to get you where you are? And was that necessary? Many people would argue, yeah, it was necessary. That's what got me where I am. Well, there actually is another way. It's not being that hard on yourself, still benefiting from the drive and the determination and all the positive strengths and characteristics that got you where you are. But the beating up on yourself or beating up on other people or whatever it is, that negative energy didn't have to be there and doesn't have to be there.
Well,
Taking
it's
that
what
negative
JJ's
stuff.
saying right now, right? The power of self-forgiveness, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and I think we do carry a lot of that around. Like our members, I know, Sarah, I think I would never say all or none, but there's a large percentage, I think, that do carry a lot of that around, right?
For
And
sure.
empowering yourself to forgive yourself. You know, I made a comment to JJ and I shared with you, and I won't go into specifics on this, but you know, our venture here at Blue Water envisioned this relationship that we're trying to build with you, Sarah, for some time. We've tried this before. We had a lot of scar tissue. I think maybe some of that was my unorganizational type kind of approach. I think there was some on the other side, but I was having a conversation with JJ. I said, man, I said, we tried this and we invested into it and it just failed miserably. And, you know, we just couldn't bring that online when we wanted to. And JJ says, hey, man, the power of forgiveness, right? Just forgive yourself, right? I mean, just move on. You tried, right? You tried, right? It didn't work out. You're going to try again. And, you know, that's great insight. I love it. My promise to you, Sarah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the boot camp. I promise. We're going to figure this out. So,
I was going to say, I think it worked on JJ. Look at that smile. He is just,
yeah.
that's all positive. That
Well,
noggin, he looks really
you know, I don't know if
intelligent.
you saw did you see the comment from Tom Welch too, prior to this, right? He also said, hey, you know, there is a big tendency to get lost in the process too, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of lose your perspective, right? You can lose your confidence, and that is a big thing, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want to say, you know, here at Blue Water we're cheerleaders or whatever. We do try to rely on the data, just so I can assure members that, hey, this is going to work out. Hey, you know, people come to us, right? One of the first things we do, Sarah, when you sit with us in June, one of the first things we do is we talk about mindset, because everybody approaches us and they go, okay, it's time for me to get a new job. I'm going to dedicate a solid week and then I'm going to be employed and I'm going to start working. I'm like, right? And there's some people that come to us and go, this is a Herculean, unaccomplishable task, and it's going to take me a year and a half, and I'm not even sure if I'll be employed by then. Well, I'm pretty sure, you know, we can, you know, the truth is in the middle. But I love having these conversations where I go, hey, you know what? Analytically, you know, the 250 people that look just like you over the last 18 months have stepped through this, and this is about how long it takes them, right? And you can kind of do it. Hey, most of you are going to fall into this window. If you're really building a long bridge, it's going to be a little bit longer, and some will land a little bit sooner. That's just how it kind of works out. And it helps just kind of level set everybody's expectations. So we try to do that from a positive, delivery, but a little bit of a cheerleader, but also with some data and analytics behind it, right? So hopefully that ends up working out.
No,
Hey, Scott, what do you? I don't want to go too long, man. What do we? Look at this, you guys. Already 45 minutes. This is amazing.
Really?
We're just talking.
We can go on.
No. I think this is good. I'm sure we're definitely gonna have a lot more conversations with Sarah on here. You're welcome back anytime, of course. And no, it's just kind of a good. Obviously, we're trying to. The whole point of doing the take a knee thing is always going to come back to some set of mindset. So this is a core theme of our conversations here. So just kind of excited to take it to the next professional level.
Love it.
Instead of us just rambling. No, but obviously all the insights we get from members that have gone through, like Tom and JJ, having those guys come join us on the show. Anybody else who's been through the program wants to come talk to us. Ultimately, what we're going to ask you about is what was your mindset on going through transition, and ultimately you're going to be a mentor to somebody, in one way or the other. So I think the more that we're sharing these little insights, it's like, even if you only get one little takeaway, that stuff adds up, or you don't know which person that's going to help, because in the aggregate, yeah, we all have a challenge or something we're dealing with. So we just want to kind of make those conversations more palatable. But Sarah, how do
Scott, can we just go around? I'm just interested. And Sarah, we kind of recage our gyros here, but Scott, so what have you been up the last week, right? Since we chatted, what do you got going on in US Vet Wealth's world right now?
Oh, I got my new website up finally, and well, not finally. It's been up. I just been kind of revamping the design so I can use it easier. I'll just put
I know
it
you've been doing some traveling too, right?
Yeah, and I went out to Las Vegas and Chicago to do an event where I spoke for Bunker Labs, doing a veterans small business retirement briefing, and we're going out to Denver here in a couple weeks, and a few more cities aren't lined up yet, so I'm not sure, but I think Seattle, DC, maybe Austin, something like that. So yeah, that's been fun. Kind of my first speaking gig, so to speak. So yeah, lots more on that to come, and with what we going to be launching here in the next few weeks with all of our website stuff. But
it's exciting.
But yeah,
okay.
Thanks for asking.
What about you? What's going on in the all sorts organizing world?
Busy, doing coaching, doing organizing, helping people in person and virtually, and then of course having conversations with you, and that's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to be partnering with both of you. This is really fantastic because there is a need, of course.
I think so, right? And this is what we love about, or what I really love about this, is coming together and bringing needed resources that we know our members benefit from, right? And we all kind of approach our members from a different swim lane, if you will, right? A different aspect, right? And bringing that need to us. Well, listen, I've made a promise yesterday. I had a great meeting with, and I want to make sure I get it right, the account manager at Insight Global, Ryan Giovanni. I hope I said that right, Ryan. Wonderful lady. We met here in the office for about an hour and a half, just going over Insight Global, which they do a lot of things. They are big into talent acquisition management. They have lots of different areas that they're plugged in with. She was incredibly enthused about Blue Water. She wanted to learn more about it. We just had a great conversation. And so I said, hey, Ryan, I'll give you a shout out. And she says, oh my gosh, if you do. So I'm going to give him the shout out as promised, right? But we had a great conversation. Hey, just for you guys, just so you know, right? I mean, it's amazing, right? May is full up. We'll be teaching back in the Booz Allen corporate office in Norfolk the end of this month. And it's going to be Steve Weeman and Todd Flannery's coming down from DC. So he's going to do a little bit of hosting with us there. So we're excited to get Todd plugged back in with us. Our bench is starting to kind of grow a little bit, and we periodically rotate through individuals, our career progression consultants, right? But we're happy to have Todd coming back down for the day. June is completely full. July is completely full. We're out at Tailhook in August. September at the Naval Academy. The Alumni Association will be instructing in their brand new building up there, the Flugel Center. And we're really excited to do that. Completely full already. And in fact, yesterday we started to see registrations all the way out to end of year in December, if you can believe it. Now, Steve Weeman sent me a note and he goes, are you kidding me? We're taking registrations in December. We get these automated pop-ups. And I said, yeah, this is just amazing that, you know, the word is getting out there. So for the audience out there, if anybody is excited about joining the Blue Water family, please don't wait. One of the hardest conversations I have is when individuals come to us and go, oh, Mike, I need to get in June, or I need to get in July. Can you please, can you please, can you please? And we feel terrible, right? We tell members to register early, but we're also dedicated to that small numbers, right? Small environment, high touch, right? So we bring in a lot of instructors. We bring in a lot of resources. We bring in a great lunch roundtable, industry professionals that sit in there. So it's, I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost a one-to-one kind of touch environment, right? That we bring you into the Blue Water network that way. And, we just guard that very closely, right? And I think for the members out there, the second we start doing big numbers and just putting people through in masses, you guys don't want us to do that. We start to become part of the problem we're trying to fix, right? This is a very high touch, closeness, right? That we build and we navigate with you to your next success through your career progression. And that's what we're building here. So please don't wait, right? We're almost full, if you think about it, throughout the rest of the year. That's crazy when I just think about this. Not being able, it's almost time maybe to start offering up more cohorts, right? Getting close to that point. So anyway, that's what's going on in our life.
All right, man.
Anything we missed, Scott?
No, I think we're good. Sara, how can people find you? Obviously LinkedIn. Any other websites you want to?
LinkedIn. My website is, and my business is allsortsorganizing.com is my website. Yeah, you can contact me through there. I'm working on a Blue Water specific landing page. So there should be one-stop shopping for anyone on the team. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of both of you and team members.
No, it's going to be exciting. Right. Thanks for helping us on the tech side, Scott, and being a great part of this. Love it. So.
No, for sure.
Thanks so much, guys.
Great conversation. Glad we're getting the this stuff out in the ether. And thanks for joining us, Sara. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. See you.